Peter, first of all, what do you think this film says about modern relationships and contemporary couples?
Well, what really attracted me to the film, this was an original idea of Vince Vaughn's, and I think he's very smart with concepts. He had the concept for the four guys, and these four, I think, very relatable, regular couples that are going through very relatable problems. And I think Hollywood, certainly in recent years, has felt the need to make movies with maybe more esoteric concepts or high concepts in their comedies. You don't need to. I think there's a lot of complexity just to life, to people, to marriages, to problems, to the things that they go through. So that was the first thing that really attracted me to it. And it's, you know, very relatable people with things going on again, and they have an opportunity to go to an exceptional place. So I think what it says, its intelligence is in its simplicity and its relatability, that I think audiences will see a lot of themselves in these couples, and that's what I like about it. And ultimately, I think it has a nice message that, you know, message is sort of sometimes a word that people don't like, but it's ultimately a experience. I think it says that monogamy or marriage or relationships is really a higher choice. So I think those were the two aspects that really originally attracted me to it.
Was there a need to have a happy ending?
I don't think there's a need, but you go in with a point of view of the movie. People have said, well, why not rated R or PG-13? We really wanted this to be a PG-13 and accessible movie to people. And its concept and its origin was really drove what the tone of the movie was. So I think there's terrific rated R movies, but then you should do that. Like the Hangovers. Is a great example of, if you're going to go to Vegas, you make a movie that's highly rated R and you do exceptional things. This again was, you know, always intended to be a very relatable group of people that we really wanted to open up to a much wider audience.
Now, working with a group of friends, as you do, that seems to be a current trend, especially in comedy, with people like Joe Apatow and yourselves. Do you think that's convenient in terms of creativity, that sometimes maybe working with the same people who share your kind of sense of humor might mean that there's no feedback from the outside in terms of the project? Does it affect creativity sometimes, working with the same people and with close friends?
Well, I think working with friends can benefit creativity because... Do we need to do the question again?
No, that's fine.
We got to drive by?
No.
Doc! I think working with friends benefits the creativity because, for one, there's a natural chemistry that exists, particularly amongst these four guys. Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn have done movies going all the way back to Swingers. And so there's a shorthand. And I think in comedy, in entertainment, you know, if you look historically at comedy, there's been some terrific duos in comedy and people that made a lot of movies together. So I think the shorthand of knowing somebody, also knowing what people are capable of, as a filmmaker, is a much nicer way to go into it. John Michael Higgins, who's a therapist in this movie, was in the breakup with us. So I think you're seeing a gravitation towards people because you know what they can do and you know them, and there's a shorthand. And even we'll improv a bit at times, and improv's a word we use a lot, but it's not about trying to score or come up with a great button. It's really, if you say, well, let's improv, like let's say we're here, you're trying to interview me, there's an intention to this moment, we might have lines, but if we improv, we'll come up with a new way of saying that, maybe a more elevated way of expressing it. So you had the same intention. And with friends and people that have worked together, they know each other so well. So I joke that this was my first time, but sometimes my job was to, you know, not yell cut too soon, because when you have these actors and they're in that moment, that when the scene's done, they would often, I would see Vince's wheels turning and I know that he's thinking of something and he would go back to the beginning or try a new tangent of that same scene.
So in a way, having this protected environment or this protective group fosters creativity.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd say it's protective. I think that there's a familiarity that helps. But with that said, there was opportunities on this movie, as there always is, to work with new people. We had never worked with Ken Jeong before. And he's a therapist in this movie. Judd works with him a lot. But he's fantastic and hysterically funny, and we've been a fan for a long time. Also on this movie, we couldn't bring a lot of extras. We were shooting in Bora Bora, which is in the middle of nowhere, basically, and it's in the middle of the ocean. It was very expensive to bring gear and people. So the background, there's a lot of scenes at luau's and all this stuff. We couldn't bring them, so we had to literally cast in Bora Bora for the parts. I remember Vince came down the second time, and I was showing him some locations, and he would improv, and we would do casting sessions with the waiters, the wait staff, the cleaning ladies, everything to try to find people that could do parts, and all the butlers and the bellmen in the movie. Have you seen the film?
Yes.
So that, you know, the one that checks in Favreau and he says, I don't understand, I want to get over there, how do I get there? You guys will stay here with your wife. That's a bellman from the St. Regis Hotel in Bora Bora, and it was all improv with Favreau. So, when you have to, you find that there's really talent everywhere, even in Bora Bora.
In a case like this, I know it's your first film as a director, but how do you incorporate the new cast members that are not part of that main group? How do you make them feel comfortable and feel like they belong?
Well, I think one decision we made was to really hire actors and actresses. They're not necessarily, the guys all know each other, but the girls didn't. We never really worked with any of them in the past. But they're actors. They're not necessarily sketch comedians or sort of broad performers. And I think that makes it easier when you look at the diversity of Mullen's career. Mullen Ackerman already has done The Heartbreak Kid, which is very extreme comedy. It's very tough to do, and pulled it off incredibly well. All the way to The Watchmen, which is completely different, which is sort of a darker action movie. That's somebody that can handle really a lot of highs and lows of material, and somebody who's a very intelligent actress. So, and I think the same thing with Kristen Davis. They're all very likable, and a lot of them asked when we first met them, "No, I hear you guys like to improv," and I don't know, because Kristen had said that on Sex and the City, they always stuck to the page because it's a very heavily written show. But what you find again when you don't say improv, it's not like you have to score with a great written line in your head. If you just play the moment, whatever that is, each scene has a purpose. So if we throw the lines away and we continue to play that purpose, maybe I need to get out the door and you're going to stop me. And we have a great written scene about that. If we throw the words out and say, I'm going to get up and go and it's your job to stop me, you can play that. And so any actor can do that, and I think it makes it less intimidating, and that's more this group. So there definitely were times we'd shoot the script, and then we'd say, okay, let's do a free take. And a lot of times, some of the great lines in the movie come from that.
In terms of the locations, I know you looked at even Bali. You can see that, according to the production notes, you looked at Bali as a possibility. In the end, as a producer, what is the most important element? To service the production needs or the script needs, or also to find a place that's going to be advantageous financially in terms of the incentives it might offer?
Well, there's a lot of reasons for shooting in a lot of places, you're right, whether they're financial or for script or what, but fortunately, in this case, and really it's the way we like to work, is you got to come from story and script and what makes the best movie. And then hopefully you have a team around you and a support system that will figure out how to make it work. So Eden is a fictitious character that is all things couples. These couples from the Midwest in the United States of America with relatable problems get to go to this wildly exceptional place. And we wanted it to be almost like Oz in the Wizard of Oz, this Oz-like land that you don't really know where it is. When you look at a lot of the images of Bora Bora, you don't really know where it is. Is it Hawaiian? Is it Bali? Is it Thailand? Is it French Polynesia? You don't know, and it's just exceptionally beautiful. And that was really, really important to us. So we were the first major movie to shoot in Bora Bora since Hurricane with Mia Farrow back in 1979. That was the last movie to shoot there. So after we found it, I was thinking, well, what does everybody know that I don't know? Because when I scouted it, it was amazing. And then we showed the pictures to everybody, and everyone was on board. But we led with story and creativity first. There's definitely influences to locations. Sometimes there's tax incentives and other things. But in this case, it was the best place on the planet to make this film, and we're thrilled to have been able to shoot there.
Now, in general, as a filmmaker working in Hollywood, how much of an awareness is there out there of Australia as a filmmaking destination?
I think there's a great awareness of it. There's been a tremendous amount of films that have been shot in this part of the world that are moving out of this part of the world. We had a major motion picture called Australia, which recently came out, which was a beautiful film that a lot of people have seen, and some terrific actresses and actors that have come here. I think one of the nice things is that the world is opening up, and with technology and communication, it's much easier to be able to access information, and I think things that intimidated people maybe from traveling to different lands, those barriers to entry are gone. So for me, the last time I was here, I was a child actor for a long time, and I did a movie in Sydney and Alice Springs with Jack Thompson and Linda Evans called The Last Frontier. And that was the last time I was here. So I was shooting that. We shot at Alice Springs and here in Sydney, and I was here for about 3 months.